Hello, welcome to Real Estate of Mind. I'm so excited to have my first guests on the show today. They are the Mana Financial. I call them the Mana Ladies, but they have their own company, and I would love to introduce them and tell us a little bit about what you do, and then I will start asking you a lot of questions. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for having us,
Absolutely,
Jamie.
it's my pleasure.
So I am Cristina Livadary,
I'm Stephanie Bucko.
Okay.
and we are the ladies of Mana Financial Life Design.
Mm-hmm.
And so our company we do financial life design, which means we integrate both life and money when we talk about our clients' financial lives.
That's fantastic, because the reason why I kind of started this podcast a little bit is because what I found out in my industry, I've been selling real estate and I'm a broker, been doing this for 17 years. One of the reoccurring themes that kept happening is I would get these fantastic women that had outstanding jobs, and they were like, oh no, I can't buy real estate. Oh, no. I'd be like, well, why not? Like, you've got the job, you can get the loan. Why are you not making the jump into real estate? And what was interesting is it boiled down to one thing. They were afraid. So when I met you lovely ladies, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. Put two and two together. How to empower women so that they know that they can make the choice to jump in and buy real estate on their own. They don't have to wait for a man, the perfect job. You know, it's like that kind of thing. They just kept putting it away from themselves, and they didn't have to, right? So what I wanted to ask you, you started Mana Financial, and when we started, you thought that your business was going to be totally women-centric. Turns out that's not the case, which means just when you have good information, everybody can benefit from it, right?
That's right.
So what did you find when talking with women? What do you think made it so uncomfortable for them to talk about money?
Yeah, I mean, women, just looking at statistics, have more cash in their bank accounts than men in terms of the percentage of cash. And it is because they're more risk averse. And I think it comes from a lot of different places. But I think putting together a plan, you can develop more comfort around that. But that's really what we see across, you see that in a lot of examples.
So like it's more like just kind of put your hands over your eyes and your ears and I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know. But you're saying as long as you have a plan, then there's a pathway.
It will
right?
increase your financial confidence.
Yeah, that's good. Because I know a lot of women I talk to, they said, oh, we didn't really talk about money in my family. We don't really talk about money a lot, period. Men, I think, from the get-go have learned how to ask for raises, how to prepare for the future, how to buy and finance and all that stuff. And I think we're a little bit behind, but I think we're catching up like lightning fast, right?
So you bring up a good point. A lot of people ask why we started Mana Financial Life Design.
Mm-hmm.
Both Stephanie and I came from institutional investing and asset management.
And explain that to our listeners that might not know what institutional investments are.
Sure, yeah. So Stephanie actually worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers,
Okay.
and then actually one of the world's largest publicly traded hedge fund of funds.
Okay.
And so I worked on the asset management side, where my company created investments that individual investors could invest in. And my job was to work with the financial advisors across Southern California and Hawaii who sold those products to their individual investors.
One of the things that I loved about your company, and we talked about this when I first met you, is that when you get with a really big financial company and you're hiring a financial advisor, most of the time what they don't tell you is they don't have fiduciary responsibility to the client, right?
That's right.
And you guys made a very distinct point in your business plan to actually create a fiduciary responsibility, and you have to disclose that up front, correct?
Yeah.
And this is actually what happened when I was 30 years old. I'd kind of calculated. I'd started in this industry when I was 24, and I'd calculated that I'd had over 10,000.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Silence my phone. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
So I'd calculated that I had over 10,000 individual meetings with advisors across Southern California and Hawaii. That was my territory.
Wow.
And what happened was one of my dear friends lost a mother and had actually come to me to ask me who I would recommend of the financial advisors that I'd worked with. And so the unfortunate truth is that I could think of less than 5 that I would recommend to my parents in their money.
Okay.
And so that's really when I made that decision to start moving towards a life in which I could be proud of and helping people, and especially women who have been so disenfranchised by the investment industry writ large. So if you think about the way that, kind of stock brokers have been, it's been an industry that's built upon men.
Yeah.
Right? And so for even just a generation ago, it was men who were making all the financial decisions.
Yeah.
And so we're really excited to be empowering women throughout every stage of their life.
I love that. In breaking stereotypes, are you seeing an increase in women buying and not waiting for the marriage or the job? Is that what you're starting to see? Like when they can just kind of pull up their bootstraps and go for the meeting and go for the plan?
Yeah, I mean, we work with women in tech and women in finance, and these are women that can afford houses on their own. So it's really what Cristina was saying about building that financial confidence, to give them the tools to let them understand that actually this is super feasible, and we've seen it happen, which is really, I mean, it's super exciting to be part of that journey, which you clearly get to be part of that so often.
I'm so excited. Yeah. What interesting conversations in the past have you been coming around money? Like, does anything stand out? Like when you start to really work with a client, what are the conversations that maybe our listeners can maybe grab a hold of, like interesting conversations around money?
We started Mana so that we could make money a topic that's not boring, confusion, and fear-inducing.
I love it.
So, like, we're all about bringing money to the forefront because it affects every aspect of our clients and our lives.
Yep.
And so the way that we start every single client meeting is we ask clients about what we call their money story. So the money story really is everything that happened as you grew up around money. And so questions to kind of bring up is, what is your first memory around money?
Oh, that's a great, and a little interesting side note, like when I was 5, I picked up rocks and I went door to door and I was selling them as pet rocks.
There you go.
I didn't do a thing with them. My mother's like, you just grabbed a handful of rocks and started selling them? And I was like, yeah.
Nailed it,
and now,
entrepreneurial.
And now I have $1.25. I can go to the store. I mean, it's that kind of entrepreneurial thing. And then there's also people where money was so taboo. Even like I think blue blood, like old money, they just didn't talk about it.
Sure.
It's rude to talk about money. But now
you nailed that. So that's what we call a money message that has been communicated to you throughout kind of your childhood, which you've now internalized, and a lot of people keep that as their truth.
Yeah.
So when they say
it's from a childlike perspective, and you're like, now you're an adult.
That's correct.
Yeah, and most people don't have the opportunity to talk about those things, to even explore that is in fact a thing. So it's just having these honest conversations. People come to their own recognition of, oh wow, this something that happened when I was really young actually is impacting me in the way that I make decisions around money today.
So what's a typical money story? Like if
Cristina's is quite powerful.
Great. Share. I love it.
So my money story really started at the very beginning of my life, where I was an immigrant to the United States. And so I was born in the Philippines. My family immigrated here in the early 1990s when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
And a few months later, my biological father stole all the money that we had and took off for Venezuela. So he robbed us of our safety and stability in a new world.
Wow.
And so that forced us to live homeless for the next couple of years.
Wow.
And so that really kind of instilled in me a few different money messages. One of them being, there'll never be enough.
Yeah.
And another one being, you can instantly, no matter how hard you work, you can instantly be robbed of your safety and stability.
That is fascinating. And I bet you there's a lot of people with not necessarily the same story, but yeah, those messages are so impactful.
Yeah.
And especially, there was a money message in my house, like you got to really work hard for the money. Not smart, like, it's like work hard, and it's like, but I wanted to learn how to work smart so that the hard didn't always have to be part of that equation, right?
Yeah. And everyone's story has like positive and negative messages that come out of that. So like hard work means discipline, but at the same time, it can actually lead to, an unhealthy life where work is the only focus.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was always about the balance, trying to find, I didn't know that at 15, but and I remembered at 15 going in and I found like this lovely ring I wanted to buy in a jewelry store. And I went home and I said, Mom, I really want this ring. And she said, you can have that ring. You just need to get a job to pay for it. And I was like, you mean if I got a job, you'd let me keep the money that I earned and I could have anything I want? And she said, yeah. And I was like, well, hot dang, I think I'll do that. And so I did. And it was like, that was very empowering.
Yeah.
Because starting at 15, I got a job and I've had a job ever since. I think it's a real disservice in today's lifestyles where, parents want to give their kids a better life, but sometimes they think the better life means, no, don't get a job. It's okay. We'll take care of you until you go to college. And then when you get out, then you can worry about a job.
Right.
I'm like, heck no, get a job so you even know what that's like. Because I think kids are growing up not knowing how to even get a job, keep a job, hold a job, interview for a job, right?
And show up.
Showing up is a big thing, right? Yeah. It's a big thing. So I've helped many women in my career make that first step in getting into the market. How do you see working with financial planners side by side can benefit women in general?
There's so many ways, but with house, like buying a house in particular, a lot of people don't know what they can actually afford.
That's right.
And that's, it's a complicated topic, right? There's loans that are difficult to understand. There's a process that's difficult to understand. But a lot of people don't even understand what income they have coming in and what expenses they have coming out.
That's right.
And where they can trim to actually, be able to get something that really makes them super happy. So just kind of going through those details and really understanding like what brings joy to their life. I think that the combination of awareness and focus really opens the doors to lots of opportunity.
I absolutely could not agree 100% more. I think there's just something because, a lot of times clients come through my door and the first thing they're like, oh, we found a house we love. And I was like, that is fantastic. Have you spoken to a lender? And, I would say probably 85% of them haven't yet. Because, they've made the home buying process very accessible online. So like 50% of buyers these days, and that was a statistic from NAR, National Association of Realtors, 50% of people are looking at homes online first before they ever hire a realtor. So the difference is that they get in their minds like, oh, this is great. I would love to live in this house. And I'm like, let's not put the cart before the horse, right? Let's stair step it, which means knowing where the money is coming in and out of, how much you actually can afford. And I said, you may qualify for $1 million loan, but it doesn't mean that that's the loan you're going to get or be comfortable with, right? You may actually end up doing $700,000 and be quite happy with that. So then they come back to me once they have those pieces together. And then I can help really focus on properties that make sense for them, right? Yeah. I don't want to focus on anything that doesn't really make sense, which is why I do a lot of front loading up front, right? Like you ladies do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got a plan, we meet the right people, we do a buyer consultation, and then that way we're front loaded so that then I don't waste any time, I don't waste your time, I don't waste my time. Yeah. And then it's usually a much more successful trajectory. So baby steps, what are some tips that you would recommend for our listeners to become financially ready to make a purchase?
Yeah, so I think it is all about baby steps. And so I think the first tip is it sounds very easy, but you'd be surprised how many people have a hard time doing it, is not spending more than you bring in.
Okay.
So not spending more than you make is the first step to financial independence.
That's a good one. I think one of the things that I run across with a lot of women when I sit down is I think they don't see, I think it's alarming to them to think about a future with them buying something by themselves because I think it makes them, sends a message, am I going to be by myself forever? You know what I mean? Right. So I think sometimes they're like, well, maybe I should just wait for that relationship because then once I have that piece in place, then I'll feel comfortable moving forward.
Right.
And I really think the reason why we do what we do, so we are financial life planners. So I'm a registered life planner. And the first thing that we do before we even get into the numbers is to understand someone's vision of their life and their definition of what brings freedom to them. And so for us, and I'm also a living and breathing example of that. For me, because I was homeless, for me, freedom meant owning my own property. So I was a woman in finance in my 20s, making money, spending a lot of it, until I became a registered life planner. And understanding that to me, I needed to achieve freedom by owning my own property allowed me to break free of the reins of the societal norms of getting married, having kids, buying a home, and all the steps, the required steps that it took.
Great. So we have a caller. Let's take a caller.
Hello.
Hi, this is Jamie with Real Estate of Mind. Welcome.
Hi, Jamie.
Do you have a question for my Mana ladies?
Yes, I do. I wanted to talk to you about lenders.
Lenders, okay.
And Yeah, if you could give me some information about that, and if there's fears for money, and how does that work?
And I didn't hear the second half. What about money?
If they're afraid, you know, like how do we get the most out of them?
Yeah, well,
If there's
actually,
any tips.
lenders they're very happy to meet with you and talk with you free of charge. I always recommend more than one lender to my clients because I want the lenders to compete and get you the best rate and the best deal for you. And the thing that's interesting with lenders is they have different relationships with different banks, right? So one product is with a mortgage company and another one is like direct with like B of A or Wells Fargo. You can go direct. They all have their pros and cons, but ultimately it depends on you. What your goals are, how much down you have. And so a lender, just having a conversation, they'll check your credit, they'll check tax returns. Fortunately, we're in a market now where they actually check tax returns,
That's right.
whereas in 2008 it was like if you breathed, you can get a loan, right? So that's kind of a good thing that they really want to make sure that you can repay a loan back. That's what banks are interested in. It costs you nothing, and it's a really good way to just get really clear and accurate about where you are at this moment. And I've had some clients talk to a lender and they go, your debt to income ratio is really high. How can I fix that? So it may be a 2-month plan to get your credit cleaned up. And then I'm with you every step of the way. So we get your credit cleaned up and then we go back to the lender and see, because the better your credit is, the less of an interest rate that you pay. So it means you get a better deal.
Oh,
So
that's
Jamie,
great. All right.
this is also
Great information.
Hang on one second. Yes, you
I was
want
going
to
to say
say
that this is a great, connection to how financial planners can also help
Yeah.
with this process. So we've helped 2 clients this year buy their first homes.
That's great.
And it's all about, understanding the debt to income ratios, all the financial ratios. But how great would it be if you worked with a financial planner who prepares a net worth statement, a balance sheet, an income statement for the lender so that you don't have to do all the digging
Right.
before you present your financial life to the lender.
I'd say that would be sweet. Thank you for calling. Do you have any
that's
other
really-
questions?
No, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very helpful information, and I like the way you explained it.
Oh,
Easy
good.
to follow.
Good. That's what I'd like to do.
Thank
I
you.
want to keep it simple for you. All right. Thanks for calling in.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Do we have another caller? Yes, great. Let's take another call. Hello. Hi, this is Jamie with Real Estate of Mine.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi. Do you have a question for us? Sure.
I do. I was trying to listen in, but I was so excited when I saw this particular podcast come up. And so I did have a couple of questions
Sure.
regarding buying real estate.
Okay.
So I'm looking, I would be a first-time home buyer, but I'm also interested in doing investment properties.
Oh, that's a good one. That's really good.
So I know, the basic fundamentals would be that I would need to meet with a lender, but outside of that, I just wouldn't even know where to start. Do I need a whole lot of money down? It just seems like so many people are doing it regularly, but I'm like, I just don't even know where to get started.
How do I even get in this game? I want to play. That's a really great question.
Exactly.
So it's a couple. So it depends if it's in a property for a primary residence for yourself. The products can range anywhere, like if it's an FHA loan, which would be as little as 3.5% down, all the way up to having 20% down. So they do have products at 5%, 10%. I mean, obviously there's a little bit expenses on the other end. The less you put down, if you have 20, that's great, but you don't need 20. That's the other thing. So that's really great. Now for an investment property, that's a little different. Investment properties, typically you will need 25% down. So it's a good rule of thumb to just kind of check. And I'm helping clients right now everywhere from a $500,000 property to a 5-apartment unit building, which was like $2 million. So the gamut can range quite far and wide. So if somebody, let me lead into the Mana ladies about this, because if somebody they own a financial residence, right, and they want to start to get into the investment game, how would you kind of steer them? Would you say like maybe chunk away a little bit more a month, or is that a plan that you could help them do so that they could start to really think about investment properties?
Yeah, we do goals-based investing. So for someone that's really just starting out and trying to save up for a house, and that's a goal in mind, we'll help them strategize both on the savings side and also the investing side. So what sort of investments can you have in the meantime to help that money grow?
Yep.
And so, whenever you map out, like if you know how much you need to have down, whether it be an investment property or a primary residence, then we can figure out exactly how much you'll need to save and how long it will take to get there.
That's awesome. So clarity is key, right? Clarity is absolutely key. And that's interesting too, because I think a lot of people don't realize that that's part of the reason why you buy your property. First of all, is you start to get equity.
Yeah.
So then eventually down the line, that equity, you can take that and you can either use it to improve the home that you're in, or you can actually take that money and invest it someplace else.
Yeah.
So therefore starts the lovely train of investing, which is pretty exciting. And actually today, since the stock market is really volatile and there's a lot going on and we're starting to see that inverse yield curve and all good stuff happening, I think people are going to be coming back to real estate because it's slow and steady wins the race. Like it doesn't have quite the margins sometimes that a stock portfolio does. However, it's something that's tried and true and you can count on. Would you agree?
Well, as financial life planners, we want everyone to be as diversified as possible, right?
So not in just one thing. So not just in real estate, but also in stocks and bonds and whatever. So explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, as simply put, you really want your wealth to grow in different ways. So the way that I say it is, if one asset like your stock and bond portfolio goes up, it's okay if another asset like your real estate stays flat or goes down. You want things to zig while other things zag.
Perfect.
And the more you diversify, the greater your chances of weathering a storm like 2008.
That's exactly right. I love that. You got to zig. We want portfolies that zig and zag at the same time. I love it. So, ladies, if somebody wanted to, yes,
another question.
Sure.
Since you mentioned 2008, because I want to be realistic, and submit, once I'm ready to move forward, submit serious offers that sellers, will take me seriously. But I also want to get what everyone wants, and that's a great deal. So how can I be, get what I want? I want to be realistic, but also keep the money in my pocket. And the second part of that question is, because you also mentioned the stock market and its volatility, and the interest rates, and sometimes they're up and down and here, there, and everywhere. What is a good range of interest rate, I guess, that I would want to capitalize on while I'm also getting a good deal?
Oh, that's a lot in that question. Let me see if I can chunk it down a little bit. So the first thing, I think real estate, traditionally in this bullish market that we've had real estate wise, properties were clipping probably at anywhere from like 8 to 10% to 12%, right? Return on interest. And that's really healthy. I think if you get in a normal, like just really slow and steady wins the race, it's about a 6%. And we haven't quite seen that, but I think the market is kind of lending itself going back to that, which I'm happy about. That means that things are kind of stabilizing. However, what's really beautiful about the market right at this moment is that interest rates are still low. So there's still an opportunity to get in there and not pay a lot for the money that you're borrowing, which that's a huge thing. And then when you diversify with stocks, I mean, I can't speak to stocks because I don't know. I'm just a real estate broker. That's all I do. But I think what the overall arching thing of what the Mana ladies are saying is that if you work with a financial planner, you have the conversation about money, you make a plan, whether you have a piece of property or not, you make the baby steps you need to start to do that. And sometimes maybe like what I'm finding some clients, especially in Los Angeles, because we have the rents are like crazy, skyrocketing, right? So there's some people that have been financing and living and renting in an area like Beverly Hills that they can't afford to buy in, right? So they would rather keep renting but perhaps save money aside to do an investment property, which is also something that you can do. So, and that would be considered that could be your first property, right? So that would be an interesting way to go about it. And again, a lender is fantastic to help you with that.
And the best way to get a good deal is to have the best credit score possible.
There you go. Yes, that is I'm so glad you said that, because you are exactly right. Anything you can do to improve your credit is fantastic. So that will actually help you across the board in getting a great rate. It'll also help you if you need to borrow money, because then it's a great rate for lending, but it's also anywhere down the line from credit cards. You'll be paying less in interest fees and things that less interest fees that you're paying, that means more money you can put and save, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
All right. And so, ladies, if they wanted to use you, what is your fee? How would you describe getting paid? Like if somebody wanted to hire you.
Yeah, so just the way that you were talking about, the way that we structured our company. So we veered off from the big brokerage worlds, the big what us in the industry call the wirehouses, the Merrill Lynch's, the Morgan Stanleys,
Right.
the UBS's, and we did that on purpose because, as you said, 90% of financial advisors are not legally required to act in the best interest of their client at all times.
Yeah.
And so
It's frightening.
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
So the reason why we launched Mana Financial Life Design was because we wanted to stand for something we truly believed in. So we are a registered investment advisor in the state of California, which means that we are bound to be fiduciaries. Fiduciaries means you are legally bound to put the best interest of your client ahead of anything else. We are also fee only. So if your financial advisor or broker is charging you commissions, they are not fee only.
Right.
And we view that as a conflict of interest. If you're getting paid for something that you're selling someone, are you really acting in their best interest?
Exactly.
We would argue not. So
Yeah.
so we are a fee only advisor, meaning our clients pay us for the fee, for the value that we provide them.
Okay, great.
And
I
so
love that.
in terms of working with us, we charge on the complexity of their financial lives.
Love it. So then it's basically varied for the client. It's
Flat fee based on the-
tailored to the client.
Exactly.
I love it. Ladies, you have been more than not only lovely, but so informative, and I cannot wait to turn a bunch of clients over to you. Myself included will be a client. I am a client. And so it's very exciting because I just love the way that you really want to do the life and money plan in a totality kind of view. And then concrete plans to keep it and make your dreams a reality so that everybody can get to retirement earlier, right?
Love it. It's all
Love
about
it.
freedom.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that was so amazing. The callers were great. The board was lighting up. Well, I think we could probably have this podcast last more than just 50 minutes, honestly. Everybody was so excited. Thank you, Mana ladies, for coming. Please come back. Don't be strangers here.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
having
much
us.
for having us.
It's been
This
really
is so fun.
So if people wanted to get a hold of you, how could they?
There are so many ways to get in touch with us. So please, we have a social media presence on LinkedIn, Mana Financial Life Design. We also have it on Instagram, Mana FLD. If you're not ready to step into financial planning, just follow us. We share tips and statistics for all of our clients and our followers to become financially empowered.
I love it. And I get the newsletter all the time, and I love it. There's so much information I get out of that newsletter. It's great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and if you log on to www.manafld.com, let us know that you talked to or you've heard us through Jamie, and we'd be happy to give you a free consultation.
Love it. Thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
God, it makes me feel so happy. I love to give back. Thank you, ladies. So the board will be lighting up again, I'm sure, whenever I have you guys back. But thank you so much for spending some time with me. I value everybody's time. I really do. I know what it takes to come across the city to be here with me today, but it really meant a lot. And I cannot imagine how many listeners out there will benefit. I really can't.
Thanks,
Thank
Jamie.
you, Jamie.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
And we're out. And then she'll finish the closing.